Hello and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and today we are talking May TBR. It's May 2024, people. I have a feeling that I'm going to regret this choice to film outside today because even though it is a beautiful, lovely day, my husband is working on fixing our car, replacing the rotors in the back. My neighbor decided to mow his lawn at the exact moment that I sat out here with all my books. And yes, I brought all my books out onto the deck to show you, which is a little weird also. And yeah, we'll see. Hopefully you can hear me over the birds and the neighbors and my husband fixing his car and the traffic on the street over there and the gentle breeze that occasionally blows through. Hopefully I don't have to completely redo this whole thing because I have a feeling it's gonna be a bit of effort here. Whatever, let's get started. So, as I have previously mentioned, May is my birthday month and I am going to be all about the mood reading this month. I am not actively seeking to fill any prompts for reading challenges, although I have a couple of things that I will share as we get closer to the end of this video for particular readathons and prompts, etc. That some of my books will qualify for. But literally my process was for choosing what I wanted to read in May. I literally went through my shelves and gathered all of the books that keep coming to my mind that, oh, I really wanted to read that. Or every time I flip through my favorites on Hoopla, which is kind of how I mark what I want to read on Hoopla. I mark it as a favorite until I read it, and then I unmark it as a favorite, which is probably the opposite of how you're supposed to use that, but it's the best way for me to know like what is available on Hoopla that I want to read. So anyway, I go through my favorites on Hoopla and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to read that one. Oh yeah, I want to read that one. Or I look through my shelves and I think, oh, I want to read that. Or I go through my Kindle library and I think, oh, I want to read that. All those books I've kind of just made a big pile. And that's what I'm going to choose from for the month of May. Although, if I want to read something else, if I hear of something else and I can get it from the library, or I pick up something else that I want to read, then I will. I am not confining myself in any way to this stack. I'm certainly not going to get through this whole stack in May unless I read every waking moment. And I sort of feel like my family and my house and my job would suffer if I did that, so that's not going to happen. But these are the books that I will choose from. So I have, first of all, I have stacks of actual books, and then I have books that I'm going to be reading digitally, and I have the little covers for them to put in my journal should I actually read them. So I'm going to show you those. I have them divided in categories of nonfiction and Christian fiction, vintage fiction and classics, and then everything else. So actually, before I start with the books on Kindle that I will be reading, let me first show you, there are two books, long books, that I had already started and have not finished yet and will carry into May, and we'll read them as time and opportunity and desire permit. And the first is Les Miserables. I'm about halfway through and enjoying it very much, but just reading a little bit every day. So at some point, I'm probably going to get to a point where I'll be like, okay, I just want to read this, either because it's so interesting and consuming that I want to finish it, or because I just want to finish it so that I can read other books as well. But right now I'm content just reading a little bit every day and enjoying my slow progress through that. The other one I've mentioned several times already this year, but I kind of had to set it to the side the past month or two because I've just had too many other things I committed to reading with other people and whatever. So that is And the Dead Shall Rise, which is nonfiction, but I keep thinking about it and I really want to get back to it. And I've only read about 25-30% of it. So I want to make more significant progress in this book in May. So those are chunkers that I will still be working on little by little throughout the month of May as time permits and desire, etc. So this book I ordered actually from Pango Books. I just haven't gotten it yet. So I really want to read The Blue Castle in May. Everybody keeps talking about this being their favorite Lucy Maud Montgomery. Okay, I say everybody. I know not everybody does. Some people haven't loved it. But many people say it is their favorite Lucy Maud Montgomery book. And it's one of her novels that I haven't read. I've read most of them, but A, I don't remember most of them. And B, I definitely didn't read this one. So I want to read The Blue Castle, and that will be coming in the mail to me. So at some point in May, I will hope to get to that. And then also I will have a hard copy of this. My sister is currently reading Positively Penelope, and she said I can borrow her copy when she's done. So I hope to get to that. I read Authentically Izzy a couple months ago, and so I'm looking forward to reading that one. The British Booksellers is a new release by Kristy Cambron. And I am really intrigued by this story, and I really want to read it. And I believe I can get this through the library, a digital copy. So I will be reading that one digitally through the library. The Elusive Truth is another one by Joanna, Davidson, Politano. I have kept up with this author's works, and so I want to continue keeping up with them. So I want to read this one. It's not super high priority, but I can get it through the library. So then Night Falls on Predicament Avenue. Now, this one I do want to read by Jaime Jo Wright. It's her new release. It will come out in May, I think. But I put it on my list and everything, but I'm actually not 100% sure that it is available to me through the library. So we'll see. I would like to get to it, but I may not get to it right away. I have this one on Kindle already. The Words We Lost by Nicole Deese. And then there's another book by her as well that I have on Kindle, I think, or can get through the library that I want to read. So one or the other of those by Nicole Deese, I would really like to get to. I've been wanting to read it for a while now. Garden of the Midnights by Hannah Linder. I really enjoyed the previous book that she wrote that I read, which I cannot remember right now, but Under His Silence or Beneath His Silence or something like that. And that was pretty good. So I would like to read this one as well. And then this is one of those books that, like, everybody but me has read who wants to, like the last person on earth to read this one. And that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And I think that there are now several books in the series, if I am not mistaken, or at least he has written multiple books. But I haven't read this one yet. So I have been told by many people that it is very good, and it sounds like such an intriguing concept. So I really do want to read that one as well. And that I can get through the library also. So that is for digital books. Now for the books that I actually have hard copies of, let me show you. Let's start with the nonfiction, because I only have one other nonfiction. And The Dead Shall Rise is my nonfiction priority. So I want to focus on that. But I also do want to read this one, because summer is coming, and I do like to read through a book with my boys in the summer. And This Changes Everything is How the Gospel Transforms the Teen Years. So I want to read it first, and then figure out how I want to tackle reading it with them. Maybe together, all of us, or taking turns reading it, or using it as a devotion type thing. I'm not sure. I want to read it first and figure out how we will be approaching it. So I would really like to read this in May. I got it at a conference in March and haven't had time to get to it yet, but I really am interested in reading it. So that is my other nonfiction pick. And then I have some classics that I have been wanting to get to. This is The Watsons by Jane Austen. Now this has been finished by John Coates. She never completed this story, so it's not entirely by Jane Austen. In fact, I think she just started it, but I have read the part that she wrote a bit before, but it's been a long time. So I want to completely read this. This is next on my step of rereading all of Austen. I've read all of her actual completed novels, and now I am reading the extra stuff. So The Watsons by Jane Austen. And then I have a couple of books, and possibly more, by Georgette Hare, because I really love her. And I don't know if I've ever actually read these ones. So this one is Regency Buck. And both of these, I have like really old vintage copies that are kind of like falling apart. So if I really like them, I need to buy some nice new copies of it. But that's Regency Buck by Georgette Hare. and then Black Sheep by Georgette Hare. And these storylines do not sound familiar to me, so I don't think I've read them, but I don't know. I know I've read a lot of Georgette Hare, but I haven't read all of her books, so I don't know if I've read these or not. I'm going to read them and find out. If I did read them, it was before I was recording on Goodreads, so now I can record them on Goodreads as Storygraph, and then I will know that I read them. And then I've been wanting to read this for a really long time. Well, really, I've just been wanting to read anything by D.E. Stevenson, but I happen to have a hard copy of this one. So I'll start here. This is Listening Valley. It's about a girl who lives in the quiet Scottish countryside, and then there's World War II, and etc. Apparently, it does delve into some, like it has some heavier moments. I thought it would be a more lighthearted book, but as I was looking into it, I realized it's a little bit heavier. So Georgette Hare would be for a lighthearted mood. This would be maybe for a little bit heavier mood, but I do want to try this author, so that's made it to my short list for May. And then this would be a reread for me, The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. Now, or however you say her name, Orczy, probably. I don't know. Anyways, I have been wanting to reread this ever since I got this copy from a thrift store, because I didn't have a copy before that. I've been wanting to reread it ever since then, but also someone on Goodreads, and I'm sorry, I forget who it was, but one of my friends on Goodreads posted a retelling of Scarlet Pimpernel that they read. I think it was called Scarlet, and they really enjoyed it. And so I put it on my TBR on Goodreads, but I don't want to read it until I have reread the original, because it's been, I don't know, 20 years since I read it, and I don't remember much about it. So I want to reread it and make sure I fully remember it, and then read the retelling. So those are my classics and vintage books. And then I have some Christian fiction. This one is Tamara Alexander's most recent novel. I have read almost all of her historical fiction. There's one, I didn't finish the Carnton series, I think, which I want to. I just haven't gotten hold of the books. But this one is her only, correct me if I'm wrong, her only contemporary novel. And she wrote it, it was released last year, I believe, and I've really been wanting to read it. I've heard nothing but good things. I do generally like Tamara Alexander as an author for the most part, so I am really looking forward to reading this one, and I got it from a library, so that will give me motivation to choose that one. Again, that one I think is a heavier one, deals with some pretty heavy topics, so I have to be in the mood for it. And then Moonbow Night by Laura France. Laura France is one of the authors I want to read all of her works. She's a little bit hit or miss for me. I don't 100% love 5-star everything she writes, but I have 5-starred some of her books. So I kind of want to read them all to find out how much I like them. I've not read this one. My sister said it was good, and I have a copy of it. So this one I would like to read. And then this is a new author that I've been wanting to try. Well, new to me. I think she's written a few books, but this is a new to me author that I want to try. Where the Blue Sky Begins. I've heard people last year on BookTube were talking a lot about this book, and it just sounded so interesting to me. And I've been wanting to read it ever since then. I got it from the library. And so, yeah, this one, again, a little bit of motivation to finish it because I have to return it to the library. But I really want to read this one. So then just some regular fiction, kind of like not any one specific genre here, just a stack of some fiction. I recently read Mansfield Park and by Jane Austen, and this is a contemporary YA retelling of that. It's called Seeking Mansfield. And I have no idea if I'm going to like it or not, but I do like retellings, and I've never read a retelling of Mansfield Park before. I just finished reading the actual novel, so the story and the characters and everything are fresh in my mind. So it will be interesting to read this retelling take on it. And through the course of Alcott April, when I was looking into books by and about Alcott, etc., I kept coming across this one, which sounded so intriguing, The Other Alcott. And it is about May Alcott, Louisa's younger sister, who is known as Amy in Little Women, and she's an artist. When we visited Louisa May Alcott's home, Orchard House, in Concord, Massachusetts, so much of May's artwork was all over the house, and her story in itself was so intriguing to me. And they talked a lot about her in the tour. So I'm very interested in her. This is not a biography of her. This is a fictionalized biography. But if you've hung around here for a little while, you know that's one of my favorite types of hybrid sort of books. I love to read novelized biographies or biographical novels about real, genuine characters. It really helps give you a feel like you know the person, even if you also know at the same time it's just what we imagine about them. It's not necessarily fully realistic, but I am interested in reading more about May Alcott. And then another retelling. This one is a retelling of Persuasion, but it's in epistolary style. Captain Wentworth's Diary. I've read a couple of others by the same author in the same style, like Mr. Knightley's Diary, etc. And it's just fun to, feel like you're getting a little peek into the hero's head as to what they're thinking, because Jane Austen doesn't really go there too much. A little bit she does, but not too much. She just kind of dips her toe there in that realm, but mostly we get the female heroes, the heroines, the protagonist perspective. I just want to satisfy my curiosity. Well, it doesn't really satisfy your curiosity, to be honest, right? But still, it's fun to read. And then I've been wanting to read these because a lot of people are talking about them, and my sister lent them to me. The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. I have volumes 1 and 2. So these are short, and everybody has really enjoyed them. My sister liked them, so I am more than likely going to get to those. And then we have Gilead, which has been on my TBR before, but I've never just gotten to it. Again, this is a heavier one, so if I'm in the mood for heavy, I will pick this up. My understanding is, never read it, but that's my understanding. So I really want to read something by Marilynne Robinson, and this one in particular, because I have it and because it is often spoken of. So I really want to read that one. And then The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. A couple months ago, I actually did start it. I read it like a chapter or two, and I was very, very intrigued. I just didn't have time to go any further because I had too many other commitments at the time. So I am very curious about this one. Again, not necessarily a lighthearted book, but I do think that it will be intriguing and interesting. Although I'm not sure that I will actually like it in the end, because I've heard some things that make me wonder, but I kind of want to see for myself, read it, and find out what I think about it. And then finally, as far as actual books I have on hand, I just want to thank Tammy at Protagonist Pub, because she sent me a little early birthday present. And this has been on my TBR for a while. Godmersham Park by Gail Hornby. I had checked it out of the library. I did not have time to get to it when I had checked it out of the library. In the end, I had to return it to the library. But I really want to read it. And Tammy sent it to me for my birthday. So thank you, Tammy, at the Protagonist Pub. And so that is definitely moving up the priority list on my TBR there. So those are the ones that I am more than likely going to pick up in the month of May. At least I'm going to pick from that stack. Who knows which of these I will actually end up reading, but those are my options. And they do fit into some of the prompts for various things. First of all, for the Tea and Ink Society Read the Classics Challenge, which I do every year, the prompt for the month of May is Lucy Maud Montgomery. And I already really wanted to read The Blue Castle, so that was an easy one. I can check that one off, provided I get to it, but I'm sure that I will, because once it comes in the mail, I'm really going to want to read it. And then the Read Your Shelf Challenge by Chantel has two options on the Doyle track and the Lucy Maud Montgomery track, and I can go either way because April was like a joint one. And actually, I feel like no matter what I ended up reading in May, I still can fit both of them. So I can still kind of do both tracks, because the one track, I don't remember if it's Doyle or Montgomery, but one track is an author that is new to you, and the other one is a favorite author. So if I read Blue Castle, which I probably will, that's a favorite author of mine. If I read any of the Georgette Hare books, which I probably will because I really like her, that is a favorite author of mine. Tamara Alexander is a favorite author of mine if I get to that one. So those are favorite authors of mine that would fill that prompt. But also there are some authors I've been wanting to try that are new to me, like D.E. Stevenson and Marilynne Robinson and Katie Powner. All of those are authors that I have been wanting to try and are new to me, so they fill that prompt, and I will get to at least one of them, I'm sure. The What the Dickens Facebook book club that I'm in is reading Old Man and the Sea in May. And I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. Hemingway is not my favorite, even on my best day, in my most intellectual reading mood. So, although I have read a couple of books by him and I didn't hate them. So, but I don't think I've read Old Man and the Sea. I don't remember it if I did. And I don't think I would hate it. It's just that era of writing, I don't know. I don't know. I don't love it, but we'll see. Then my son is reading, well, they just finished reading Paradise Lost by John Milton. So I'm actually behind. Okay, so back up here, in case you haven't heard me mention this before. I have been trying to read all of the books that were assigned to my son for his freshman year of high school literature. So far, I have read one, which was Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser. And he read Pride and Prejudice, which I've already read it multiple times, so that doesn't count. And then they read Othello. And that one I decided I wanted to watch. And so I found a YouTube video of it, like the full-length performance of it. And I'm going to be honest, I got like bored about a third to half of the way through. My son was like, bored? You were bored? Why were you bored? I was like, I don't know. It wasn't, I mean, I'm not normally bored by Shakespeare, but it bored me. Does anybody else have that feeling about Othello? And so then I was thinking, well, it would probably be faster just to read it than to watch the rest of the video. But I haven't yet. I haven't just tackled Othello. And then they were reading Paradise Lost by Milton, which I have started to read before and did not get very far at all. Like, not at all. And then, so I decided to pick up an audio version of it. And I was like, yeah, that's not working. I mean, maybe the audio and the written in combination would work very well, but the audio was not doing it for me. Could not concentrate on it well enough, so that's not happening. So I need to actually read Paradise Lost. And I thought, well, maybe that's the last book he's reading this year, and so it's okay if it goes into the summer for me. Oh no, they're reading one more. They're reading Frankenstein. Well, at least one more, because Frankenstein is not very long, so I don't know if that will take them the whole entire next month or so to read. But next they're reading Frankenstein, which I have not read and I do want to read, but that's definitely not happening in May. So we'll see if I read any Paradise Lost or not. I might read a little bit at a time as the mood strikes me. For the Southern Charm readathon that Amanda at Book Lover Amanda and several other co-hosts are doing this month, well, the month of May, I will link to their channels, and they have like a whole bingo card and everything. They have multiple prompts, and I went through my stack of books that I picked and just to see if any of them fit some of the prompts, and some of them do. So I will be able to cross up at least some of these depending on what I actually get to in the month of May. But for the Bless Your Heart prompt, which is an emotional or heartwarming book, A Million Little Choices or The Words We Lost, I have a feeling would fit that bill perfectly. There are others in my stack that I think also would qualify, but those were the two that I thought were probably the most likely. And the next prompt is Sweet Tea, something sweet on the cover or a sweet story. And I wasn't really sure about this one, but I was thinking maybe Positively Penelope would fit. None of my books had anything sweet on the cover, but as far as being a sweet story, I thought Positively Penelope might qualify for that, or the Emma M. Lyon series. If you guys have read those, do you think they would qualify? Let me know in the comments, because I'm not really sure. Most of these prompts, like these books, like I haven't read and I don't know enough about them to say, oh yeah, that totally fits. So tell me if I'm way off base here. And then Hot as Blue Blazes, A Hot Setting. That was a little easier. Oh, where did that one go? I had another book, Love in the Silver Lining by Tammy L. Gray. It must be in the house. I didn't bring that one out. I think it's set in a hot setting. That's what the cover looks like. I couldn't 100% tell. Like, it starts out in Guatemala, which definitely would be hot, but I don't think it stays there, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So I don't know. If you know, tell me. But that I thought would work for that. Heavens to Betsy, a mystery or thriller that will shock you. And the only mystery I believe that I have on here is Night Falls on Predicament Avenue. Or I may read another book by Jaime Jo Wright, because I do want to catch up on my on her backlist, and I'm way behind. So I might read another book by her, but any of those would qualify. Then all the fictions, multiple genres. And I chose The Midnight Library for that one because actually I feel like it's probably the only one of these books that will qualify for that, unless you count my hybrid novelized biographies, fictional biographies, which I have a couple of those on here. So those would possibly qualify. Or The Midnight Library, which people say it's like there's like magical realism / fantasy, etc. So, and then Chicken and Dumplings, a comfort read, definitely counting Georgette Hare for that, because Georgette Hare is a comfort read for me for sure. Hey y'all, a multiple point of view. I'm sure one of these has multiple points of view. I'll find out when I read it, and then I'll be able to check that one off. I don't really know. If you know offhand that one of these does have multiple points of view, let me know, so I can jot that down before I forget about it. And then finally, Howdy Partner, a book about friendship or family. And I picked The Watsons because that is about a family, the Watsons. So I'm sure others of these would qualify as well, but that one I know for sure did. So that is my Mood Read May TBR. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, if they interest you, and also help a girl out. Are there any of these that you have read that you either are like, oh yes, you're going to love that one, definitely read it, totally read it, start with that one? Or are any of these you have read and you're like, and I don't think you're going to like that one? Then I'll bump it a little further down the list. So let me know your thoughts if you've read any of these, or if there are any of these that you are going to read. And also let me know in the comments if you are mood reading at all in the month of May, and what you are hoping to get to. And I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. So I will talk to you later. Bye.